Hi guys, welcome to this new tutorial. It's about effects and presets. It's about shapes, backgrounds, and NerveNet linear. I hope you're enjoying my tutorials and leave me some comments or send me some emails to tell me what's bad and what's good and what you like and what you don't like. Remember, this is Loai with you from aeschoolonline.com and welcome. Let's start creating a new composition. We come to our small button here. We take Comp4, for example, 1287, 22 seconds will do. Cool. Let's take the NerveNet and drop it inside the comp without any layers. Now notice here I'm working on third of the resolution because it takes a long time to render. You can work on full if you have a better computer than mine, I hope so, or on third just to speed up things. Cool. Let's go and look at our shape layer. We notice here at 50% that we have a star with 4 points. If you look at our shape layer, we notice we have in the content a polystar, of course, and it has 4 points. Fine. And you notice that the radiuses, the inner radius, the outer radius, are driven by expressions, including the inner roundness. So let's look at the stroke. Of course, within the stroke, we are going to find that we have the dashes. Obviously, these are the dashes here, and they are also driven by expressions. All the expressions here are dependent on the random seed and the speed. Cool. They added the repeater here, is good to know. You can increase the number of copies if you like. That is 3, and then you get another star somewhere. I will undo this, and you have the offset, of course. In the transform repeater, not much has been done, except the scale has been also driven by an expression. We go to pucker and bloat, and this one I would like to draw your attention here. If you take it down, for example, to small values like, 30, you will have a very subtle animations that are extremely useful. If you increase the thickness of the lines, of course, you can have some movement within your background, within the video. Just, work your imagination, see what you can do with them. If you increase it like it was at 300, for example, and you will have the straight lines, of course. Let's go back to 400. It was 403, I think, something like this. Now, notice how fast is this animation. And it has a purpose why it was fast. You could think about stars, you can think about a line coming in, you can think just about half a second breaks, things like this. We will see later how to reduce the speed. Cool. Now we have seen our shape layer. Let's close it and go take it at 100% and start looking at the controls. Let's stop it over here at 15. Now the controls are like the previous one: animated shape control, lens blur, and of course calculation. For your information, lens blur has been obsolete since version 5.5 of After Effects. There is no more lens blur. It has been replaced by camera lens blur, which is more sophisticated and more camera directed. Yet, After Effects is hiding the effect of lens blur somewhere, and they can pick it and drop it for us anytime they want, and we can do that. I think it's unfair. So lens blur is the major effect that will run or shape the effect over here or the background. Now there is depth map layer and depth map channel. I will skip these ones because they will just give you local blurs and you can control where the blur is on your comp. I'll just leave it for now because I think you should have a tutorial about the maps and the channels, how it works. Let's go to blur focal distance. If I go back to full, you notice it is blurred a bit here, the lines. And then if you take it to blur focal distance, you take it to the maximum, they will become very sharp and you can see even the dashes. I will take it back to 0. The most important is the iris radius, the blade, the specular brightness, and the specular threshold. You can introduce some noise if you would like. Let's start playing with the iris radius. If you take it up, you notice how the lines will become a bit thicker. We go back to 1/3. You notice how the lines are becoming very blurred. Look at the difference, for example, at 70, or let's put it at 80, something in between here. You notice that one layer, because of calculation, is very sharp, and the other layer is totally blurred. Let's jump from the blade to the brightness. If you increase the brightness and then decrease the threshold, you will start seeing the brightness on the colors. Cool. Now we start to see something efficient. Notice the effect of the blade here. You notice that they will become bigger or sharper, and they are affecting the specular threshold or the specular brightness here. So the iris blade really needs to be working with the brightness and the threshold. So now let's go back to full just to see what it is all about. And look at the rendering time it's taking here. So exactly this is the shape we are going to play with, and this is the major one. These are the lines. Cool. Let's go back to 1/3 so we know what's happening, and go to, for example, the calculation. Now calculation, you know me, I don't like these lines here. If you want to use them, you're welcome. Find some tricks for them. I will just remove the lines by removing the shape layer. Now if you remove completely the calculations, the difference is not that much. In fact, it's very subtle. You can't see much. So we remove these lines. This is one way to have your effect here, and you have a very nice background. Of course, you can come and play with the iris, take it bigger, I don't know, the blade, take it up a bit so they are cutting more, play with the colors and so on. I have done some examples already made. You can see you have a nerve linear here, totally different parameters, and I did a small trick that I want to show you. If you come to the group here, the content, I added a wiggle path. Now what's the effect of the wiggle path here? I added more lines. Let's go back to our comp4 and add a wiggle path just to demonstrate to you. And this is the wiggle path. Now if you come to the wiggle path and take the values very high, the size, make it very big. Here you're adding more and more wiggles, and actually you're adding more on the lines that will appear. If you take it around 1000 or 900, here it is. The details, just hide the details. You notice now it's too much details. Let's take it down. Here you are. We need to change the color. In fact, it would be nicer to take a, I don't know, purple color or something like this. Go down a bit or go up. Yep, you can change the colors. You want to come and play with the specular threshold to take out a bit of the whites. Here you are. But when you run this animation, you notice that it's going to be extremely speedy because we have speed over here and we have speed of the wiggle. If you take the wiggle to 0.5 only and take the speed to 1 or even 0.5, now you have some other amazing effect. You can see here we have these triangles over here. If you change the iris shape to squares, you will notice now that you have squares. It means the intersection is somehow a square. You can move it up to pentagon, or you can move it up to hexagon, and it becomes more complicated. And also an octagon that is 8 sides. It will become nicer if you would like to play these games. Now let's go back here, and you notice here what I have done. I took the iris radius to 100, the iris blade to 100, specular, just a random figure, 35 has worked with me, 220, change the color to yellow, and if you remove the calculation it will become green, put back the calculation, it is somehow purple or something like this. Now you run this animation, you notice it's very speedy, yet the wiggle per second is 0.1 and the speed is 0.1. So maybe you need to take down the size or the details, play with it, fiddle with it, get something very good. Yet you can come over here and say, okay, I want to play with the time after you pre-compose, or if you create a video, you can play with the time here and stretch it to become very slow. So there are very many options that you can do. Let's look at Net Nerve Linear 1. This is almost what we have created together. And if you run it at the third here, you can see that, in fact, this one can run off full because it's already, as I said in the previous one, it already has a proxy. So this is pretty cool. You need to play with it, some more blur on top, maybe using other Gaussian blur or other kind of blurs. It will be pretty cool. Let's go to Nerve Linear 2. Now here I have used 920 for the wiggle path, 2 for the wiggle, and if you run it, it's pretty speedy, but it's pretty nice. I can assure you, you can slow it down using time remap if you like, or stories like this, and it will become marvelous. So this is what I have for you in this lecture. I hope it was useful. My main purpose here is to bring it to your attention, make you see that not all the effects and presets are extremely useful, but some of them, if you really work on them, can become highly useful and give you some kind of backgrounds or some kind of shapes that you can use on your videos and make magical effects. See you in the next one.